Ms. Anta, what you're saying now, there are those who will interpret it as the ICPC has been failing in its duties, in the sense that you say you're meant to, part of your duties is to prevent corruption. That means you're supposed to be checking if there are ghost workers in the public service, and you've not been doing that for all this while. So if it is now that the bailout funds came out that you began to do this, your report came out, and you're now checking, and then the ghost workers are suddenly emerging. Is the ICPC really doing all that it's meant to?
Oh, look, let's look at it this other way. There's a phase and time that you need to do certain things. Now, if you had ghost workers, how would you, in all the ministries, departments, and agencies in this country, would you have ICPC staff in every department and agency monitoring that physically? Of course, that's not going to be possible. So what template would you use? And I'll tell you the template that came into play. First, the federal government went on to the Integrated Payroll Information System, IPIS, of registering everybody and paying from a platform. That eliminated a lot of ghost workers. Now phase 2, which nobody probably expected, and it was independent, we are going to go e-payment, and so each person in the bank should have his BVN. I'm sure you did your BVN, okay? It was successfully done, and then you now take the IPIS platform that you have civil servants, and you tie it into the BVN platform, and you begin to discover that maybe one BVN number is attracting 5 salaries using different names in banks, and you begin an investigation. This is a public report now that was done by the Minister of Finance. So that has already thrown up a whole lot of people electronically. It's now the subject matter of an investigation of picking all those involved in collaboration with the banks, because now you have a face, you have a name, you have an address, whereas in the past you probably would run around in circles.
Is the ICPC involved in that investigation?
The ICPC had been involved in that investigation. The EFCC is currently involved in that investigation too. The Ministry of Finance is actively involved in the same investigation. And as you must have heard, the President had ordered that all agencies that are not on the IPIS platform must do so. And so that begins to cut the areas within which you can have this ghost worker syndrome. Then you move on to other funds that are appropriated within the MDAs. Now, in the past, at the end of the year, you had to write to all MDAs to say, please return all unspent funds.
Did they respond?
Most responded, and ICPC went into the field and recovered quite a lot in the past. Now, government moved on to what is known as the Give Me platform, where all transactions had to be done on an electronic platform, and the monies were domiciled in this central bank. And so at the end of the year, you're not asking anybody to return funds because the monies are already domiciled, and so what you're getting is the actual that you need. So electronically, you've moved away from releasing money to MDAs to spend, and at the end of the budget year, if you have balances left, you return to an electronic platform where your money is kept in trust and released to you. So the balances at the end of the year is not actually with you physically, but in the virtual bank.
Now, speaking about these bailout funds, many did reports, many dailies reported that many of those states did not properly apply the funds for what they were originally meant for. In fact, they used the word misuse of those funds. Is that what happened, and is that not a crime?
That generally is not what happened, because we have access to the reports we had done. As of the time the reports were released, at least I know of one state that had not paid. It had the money but had not paid, and insisted that it was going to do a verification exercise before it paid that leftover balance. And the workers said, no, we want the monies now, you can do your verification later. And the governor said, no, we must do our verifications now. So those issues have now been resolved, and I'm very happy to state that the lessons learned from that exercise is good for everybody, and that when subsequent funds are released or not released, the states would themselves begin to monitor how personnel budgets are executed, because we tended to pay more attention to monitoring capital projects and how funds were appropriated and spent there than looking at how personnel funds were being disbursed.
So can we then say that no states misappropriated the funds?
If we find cases of misapplication of funds and they violate our act, we would definitely commence a criminal investigation into those processes, which would help the state. Because I do know that one or two governors complained publicly, and we wrote back giving them evidence that these were filled by your accountants general.
What did they complain about?
That some of the reports they saw in the newspaper said that they had diverted funds to other bank accounts, which was true, but that, yes, we diverted the funds to other bank accounts like you have seen, but they were meant to pay salaries. And as of that time, those accounts were not designated as salary accounts when we were checking. So it is now that they're giving explanation that we use such monies to pay, say, a vigilante group. And so because we pay salaries to such groups. But you see, if we had not done that report, we probably would not have been able to get the reasons why such payments were done to such accounts. And so we are now following up to verify that indeed the vigilante group in those states were paid.
So you're saying that so far your investigations are still ongoing. You've not been able to verify that any governor or any state has misapplied, because you prefer the word misapplied instead of misappropriated any funds. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. When I use my words, I'm very careful about the words, because I use the words that are in our act. Sometimes when we use the word misappropriation loosely, it's giving the impression, the ordinary impression, that the monies have been stolen. Whereas if you use misapplication or virement, which is part of act, and if you're looking at the United Nations Convention, it's misappropriation they use. Appropriation in the sense that X was appropriated to do this, but you have used it to do this, so you have misappropriated to some other, even though you didn't take 10 kobo for personal enrichment. So far, we're still investigating a few of those payments that were made into non-salary accounts, and we stated that in our report publicly.
What did you find about Zamfara State?
Zamfara State had applied for bailout funds, and as of the time it was released, they were not owing workers' salaries. They had paid up all their workers' salaries from their own internally generated funds. And so they went to their parliament, the State House of Assembly, to say, we have received these funds. Could we use it to settle some other issues, ongoing contracts and the rest? We also published that.
Did they write to you that it was not correct information?
No, they wouldn't, because we had all the details, and when the State House of Assembly met and the resolutions, they have not. Or have they complained to you?